Okay, let's learn about how Revit works before you get started. So here I am on my desktop and I see Revit. We're working in Revit 2024. You should know that if you save something as a Revit 2024, if you have a previous version, you won't be able to open this file. You cannot open newer files than what your version is. So if you're downloading your own version, be sure you get 2024 so it matches with ours. Okay, so here we go. I usually right click and open. Takes a little while to get going sometimes. And Revit is a big program, so it takes a while to open up. It's going to take a few moments. Okay, so there it comes up. It is an Autodesk product. You can get an educational version of your own. Works a little faster native on your own computer. You can see it takes a little while, but that's just part of it, and it's good for you to be able to see it so that if it's taking a little time for you, you know that that's normal. Okay, and then when it comes up, it'll do this, hello, let's just X on that. That's no good. Now, there's two types of Revit files you can work with. There's models. That's the BIM, Building Information Model, and that's what we're going to do. And there's families. Those are like the blocks and the components and the groups that we saw in SketchUp or in AutoCAD. These are pieces that go in. So, and they're objects. They're real objects. There's data attached to them and stuff. But we're going to do models. And they've made it kind of complicated now because they have so many different types of templates. But let's take a look. I'm going to make a new one. New. And this Imperial Multidiscipline is just humongous. So we're going to browse and just find the plain old default. There it is. Plain old default. That's a nice, simple template to open up. And I'll click OK. It's a project. And it opens up. And then you'll see it's sort of like AutoCAD if you've looked at AutoCAD before. It's way different than SketchUp. But what you see is there's a working area that shows you your model, shows you a view of your model. And there's lots of different ways you can view it. You can look just at level 1. If it's multiple story or it has multiple levels in the design, you can just look at level 2. You can look at the site. These are reflected ceiling plans. We're not going to use those in Design 320. And then there's elevations. I can also look at schedules. It'll make tables for me. And I can put things on a sheet. Each of these views can be put on a sheet. And the sheet can have a title block and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're going to notice is there's a thing called the project browser that shows you all the different views that are set up for your model. And each view is set up so that it can see specific things. Then at the top, you see a whole bunch of ribbons. You can be an architect, you can be a structural engineer, you can be a steel engineer, a precast engineer, systems, that's MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, HVAC, things like that. You can insert things, you can annotate. We go there a lot. There's a lot of analysis available in BIM. We're not going to use it in this class, in Design 320. And there's massing and site. That's where you do your civil stuff, your site plans, and a bunch of other things. There's a really important one here called view. And it's where you can make renderings and you can make new views. Okay? And if one of these things goes away, your properties or your projects, you go over to your user interface and make them come back. I'm going to make properties go away. It accidentally went away. I can turn it back on. Okay, I guarantee that will happen to you. So let's see what else we can do. I can put in a thing. This really is a wall. It looks sort of like just some lines, but I made a wall. And if I click on that wall, its properties show up with tons of information about it. How tall the wall is. This is a 20-foot tall wall. Does it create a room? What level is it on? When you dimension it, are you dimensioning to the center line or the core or the finished face exterior? So there's a lot to know about construction, but for Design 320, we're just everything will be conceptual, and you'll just get close with everything. You want it to look right. A little bit more careful than what we did in SketchUp, but that's what we're going to do. So every time you click on something, you're pulling up something with tons and tons of information. That's why it's BIM, Building Information Modeling. And if I want to change one of these walls to something else, I can make one of those walls all of a sudden maybe exterior brick. And you can see it looks just a little bit different. You can really see those differences in a 3D view. So if we go to View, Make a 3D view, it just popped a new view down here, and here it is. And if I hold my mouse wheel down, I pan back and forth. And if it's Control, Shift plus my mouse wheel, moves around. Now you can see what that other wall looked like. And I can look at that wall down here. I can look at it coarse, medium, or fine. How much detail do I add? And here's your visual styles. I can look at it in realistic, and it'll pop in and it'll look more like the brick wall that potentially I was thinking of. Okay, so there we go. Scroll wheel goes in and out. Zoom. Hold it down, pan back and forth. Shift and hold the wheel down, and you pivot. So that's how you get started. And up above are all the different views that you've opened up. Or you can reach them over here on the project browser. So let's just say I'm looking at my 3D view. And I go, wow, this wall is too tall. Now let me look at my east view. So there it is in an east view. Two of them, they're too tall. If I make this one shorter, and I can just pull it down, or I can type a dimension. 10 feet. All of a sudden that one's shorter, and guess what? Over here, it's also shorter. It is a thing in Revit. Okay? Revit is not a surface or a line or even a solid. Everything is just that. It's an object and a thing that has tons of parameters that define it. That's the beauty of it, is that we can control all those in our design, and it shows up everywhere. That's the cool part about BIM. So there you go. That's a little bit of a trick on how to get started. Look at all your views that are available on this project browser. See all about the thing that you clicked on in the properties. Act like an architect, a structural engineer. These are all tools for those people. Okay, massing and site is civil engineering. All right, there we go. That is your get started with. Oh, one other thing, sorry. Under this file, the file button is your save as. And you save as a project. You want to save it as a project. It saves everything in every view, every import. Everything is saved together when you save as a project. Okay? So there we go. That's your introduction to how to operate in Revit.